In the bustling heart of Istanbul, where the scent of street food mingled with the call of gulls, the city's stray cats roamed as silent guardians of its alleys. Among them was a scruffy tabby, her fur matted, but her amber eyes fierce with purpose. She was a mother, and her tiny kitten, barely a month old, was dying. It was a sweltering June afternoon when the paramedics at Mercy Hospital noticed her. They were lounging by the entrance, sipping bitter tea, when a faint scuffling broke there. Chatter. The tabby emerged from the shadows, dragging her kitten by the scruff of its neck. The kitten's body was limp, its eyes half closed, and its breaths came in shallow gasps. The mother cat staggered under the weight, her legs trembling, yet she pressed forward with a determination that silenced the men. "Look at that," murmured Emre, the youngest paramedic, setting down his cup. "She's coming straight for her." "Us strays don't do that," said his colleague Layla, frowning. "Not here. They're too skittish." The cat stopped a few feet away, her gaze locking onto the humans. She released her kitten, who let out a pitiful mew and tried to stand, only to collapse on the sun-warmed pavement. The mother's tail flicked anxiously, but she didn't flee. It was as if she knew this was her only chance. Imre crouched, keeping his movements slow. "Can't bring them inside hospital rules, but we can't leave them like this either." Layla nodded, her eyes on the kitten. "That little one's in bad shape. Look at its legs barely moving." The paramedics formed a loose circle, torn between protocol and pity. The mother cat watched them, her ears twitching. When Emre reached for the kitten, she hissed softly but didn't lunge. Instead, she nudged the tiny body closer, as if urging them to act. It was a gesture so human, so desperate, that it sent chills down Layla's spine. "We need a vet," Emre said, scooping up the kitten. Its body was hot, its muscles unnaturally stiff. "This isn't normal." As he spoke, the kitten's body jerked violently, its limbs thrashing in a seizure. "Put it down!" Layla snapped, her voice sharp with panic. Imre lowered the kitten to the ground, where it convulsed beside its mother. The tabby meowed a low, anguished sound and pressed her body against her baby, as if willing it to. "Stop." The seizure passed, leaving the kitten panting. The mother licked its face, her eyes darting to the paramedics. "She's begging us," Layla whispered. "She knows we can help." Then, to their astonishment, the mother cat acted. She seized her kitten by the neck again and began dragging it toward the hospital doors. Her movements were deliberate, her path unwavering. Imre and Layla exchanged a glance and followed, their curiosity outweighing their hesitation. The tabby navigated the hospital's sterile corridors with eerie precision, weaving past startled nurses and beeping monitors. She paused at an empty exam room, dropped her kitten beside the table, and sat, her tail curled around her paws. She stared at the door, waiting. "This is unreal," Emre breathed. "It's like she's been here before." Layla called for Dr. Murat, the on-call physician. He arrived expecting a prank, his laughter dying when he saw the cats. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered, kneeling beside the kitten. The mother cat leaped onto the table, her eyes never leaving her baby. Dr. Murat examined the kitten, his brow furrowing, weak pulse, rigid muscles, and that seizure. "I'm no vet, but this looks like poisoning." He glanced at the mother, noting her pale gums and unsteady stance. "She's sick too, but she's fighting through it for her kid. Poisoning?" Layla asked, her stomach sinking. "From what?" Murat's face darkened. "The city's been cracking down on strays. Rat poison's cheap and effective, but it's a death sentence for anything that eats it." He mixed a makeshift remedy charcoal powder stirred into a paste, a trick he'd learned from his village upbringing. "This might bind the poison," he said, coaxing the kitten to swallow a tiny amount. The mother cat watched, her body tense. When Murat offered her water, she lapped at it eagerly, then nudged her kitten to drink. The room fell silent, all eyes on the kitten. After an agonizing minute, it took a shaky sip, then another. Imre let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. That's a start." The mother cat needed treatment too, but her focus remained on her kitten. Murat gave her the same charcoal paste, marveling at her resilience. "Most animals would have given up by now," he said. She's a warrior. The hospital couldn't keep them, so Murat called Dr. Selin, a veterinarian friend. She arrived within the hour, her eyes widening at the story. "A cat brought her kitten to a hospital," she said, half laughing. "That's one for the books." Selin confirmed the diagnosis. Rat poison, likely scavenged from a dumpster. The hospital's quick action had saved the cats, but they needed intensive care. She took them to her clinic, where the mother, now named Asya, meaning Asia for her vast spirit hand, her kitten, named Işık, or Light, began their recovery. Weeks passed, and the cats transformed. Asya's coat regained its sheen, and Işık grew into a playful, bright-eyed kitten. But Selin knew they couldn't stay at the clinic forever. She reached out to animal rescue networks, sharing their extraordinary story. The tale of a mother cat who marched into a hospital, spread like wildfire, drawing attention from across Istanbul. Among those moved was the Demir family, who had recently lost their beloved cat. "We heard about Asya and Işık," said Mrs. Demir, her voice soft. "They deserve a home where they'll be cherished." The transition was seamless. Asya and Işık adapted to their new life, chasing sunbeams and curling up on soft blankets. The Demirs marveled at their bond, especially Asya's protective gaze over Işık. "You'd never know they were strays," Mr. Demir said, watching them play. But their story didn't end there. 6 months later, during a routine vet visit, an unexpected encounter changed everything. A nurse wheeled in a frail boy, 9-year-old Arda, who was battling leukemia. His face was pale, his eyes dull from months of treatment. The nurse apologized for the mix-up, but Asya had other plans, ignoring her usual wariness. Asya leaped from the exam table and padded to Arda's wheelchair. She climbed onto his lap, purring like a motor. Arda's eyes widened, and for the first time in weeks, he smiled. "She's warm," he whispered, stroking her fur. Işık joined in, batting playfully at Arda's shoelaces, drawing a laugh from the boy. The nurse checked Arda's vitals, her jaw dropping. "His heart rate stabilizing," she said. "This is incredible." Dr. Selin, witnessing the scene, had an idea. "What if we brought them back regularly?" she asked the Demirs. "Arda's not the only kid who could benefit." With the hospital's approval, Asya and Işık became Istanbul's first therapy cats. Their visits to the pediatric ward worked miracles. Children who hadn't spoken in months began to talk, their laughter echoing through the halls. Arda's condition improved steadily, and within a year, he was in remission, inspired by their impact. The Demirs and Dr. Selin founded Light's Legacy, a foundation to rescue strays and train them as therapy animals. The program expanded. 2 schools, nursing homes, and trauma centers, touching countless lives. Asya and Işık, once discarded strays, became symbols of hope, proving that even the smallest creatures can ignite profound change. Years later, at a gala for Light's Legacy, Arda, now a healthy teenager, took the stage. "I was lost in the dark," he said, his voice steady. "Then a cat named Asya brought me light. She and Işık didn't just save me, they showed us all that love can find a way, no matter how impossible the odds." As he spoke, Asya and Işık lounged nearby, their eyes gleaming with quiet wisdom. The audience rose in applause, but the cats simply yawned, content in their purpose. For them, it had always been simple: a mother's love, a spark of light, and a mission that changed the world.